Hello and welcome to the National Leadership Briefing. My name is Doug Sharp and I will be your host for today. It is Friday, June the 6th, 2025. And for the next 60 minutes, you and I are going to spend time together doing what? You're probably wondering. Of course, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking for opportunities where we can grow our influence and advance the things that we believe in into the conversations that take place in society, culture, politics, and government. As always, we will be rallying around the principles that undergird the four pillars behind me, and you and I will be looking for those challenges and opportunities before us and preparing to greet them. So this is what we do on the briefing every single week, every single month, pardon me, and we will be doing that again today. Now, this is a very special briefing because this is the second part of a two-part series that we have done following up on federal election 2025. Back in May 2nd, on the first Friday of May, we started introducing to you some of the challenges we had coming out of the last federal election. You and I, as Christians, people of faith here in our nation who are looking for those opportunities to engage in conversations about what we believe, especially at election time, found ourselves facing gatekeepers, found ourselves facing people who did not want us to participate within the Conservative Party of Canada in particular. And you and I had to make a decision. We had to decide whether we were going to just let it go and we were just going to continue to pretend it wasn't happening, that we didn't have a problem, or we were going to confront the challenge and we were going to find a way through it. Now, that's what we're doing today, is we're going to be spending some time taking a more in-depth look at what exactly happened during the election, the federal election that we just came out of, but also we're going to begin the work of executing a strategic plan that deals directly with the challenges that we're facing when we run into people that don't believe we should engage with them in the processes of democracy here in our nation. And I'm referring to, of course, those within the Conservative Party of Canada who felt as though that we should not have our voice heard, and the things that we felt were important, we felt that they weren't being addressed and discussed by candidates, or we were also being shut out of the processes of the party, which gave us the opportunity to even compete within the election. So we're going to have all those conversations today. Now, we're definitely not going to get it all done today. Now, I know it's the first of a two-part series. I just said that. However, we know that this is a long game. We know that what we are dealing with here, we didn't arrive in this place that we're in overnight, nor are we going to be climbing our way out of this set of circumstances overnight. It's going to take some time, so don't get frustrated if we don't get to all the answers today. We're going to do our best, but we want to make sure we spend the time first doing the deeper dive into the election itself, build the foundation of understanding as to what happened there, and then start executing the plan out of that, off of that foundation of understanding. That's why today we have invited Scott from It Starts Right Now, the organization I'll put all the links in the post-briefing notes again today. So those of you who don't know Scott Hayward has been with us before, and his organization focuses exclusively on electing members of parliament to the House of Commons and to the legislatures who are in fact pro-life. So this is a good guy to talk to about what exactly happened during the last election. Let's build that base of understanding, and then we're going to roll into the boardroom and we're going to start talking about you and your place in the plan moving forward. Now, remember, we don't look at strategic plans and we don't talk about operating tactically so that at the end of the day, we can all go home and say, hey, that was nice. That sounds like a really nice plan. No, what we do is as we review the plan, I encourage you strongly to find your place in it. What is your role in the plan? So as I start rolling things out in the boardroom today, to deal with these challenges that we're facing within the Conservative Party of Canada, for example, I want you to be praying to God and asking yourself, saying, Lord, what is my part in all of this? Why am I here on the briefing today? You obviously have me here. Either you're watching the briefing live with me today, or you're following up and watching the briefing on a social media site later on. But you are, in fact, here, and from my mouth to your ears, you're going to be receiving something today. And I need you to understand there are no coincidences and that there is a part for you to play in this plan moving forward. You just need to find out what that is. Now, I'm going to be presenting all sorts of different places where you can become activated and mobilized, but I want you to make sure that you are open to identifying your part, taking ownership of it, because you are in fact responsible to walk out your call on your life. And part of it today is going to be revealed to you. I'm confident of that. So that is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be starting out having a conversation with Scott Hayward and reviewing the election, going into the boardroom then, as I say, and reviewing the strategic plan. What we don't get to today, we will definitely follow up in next month's briefing, but let's do our best today to keep you on schedule. Make the best of the time that we have together and look again for those opportunities where we can advance the things that we believe in into the conversations that take place. Especially today, we're going to be focusing on election time. All right, so let's watch this quick video and then come right back, and you and I and Scott will do a deep dive into what exactly happened during this past election. Bye for now. Okay, well, you know Scott Hayward here on the briefing. If you're brand new to the briefing, you're going to get to know him, that is, today. But it's always a pleasure to have Scott on. We always enjoy him because he brings with him just a tremendous amount of knowledge, deep insights into his analysis of what exactly occurred leading up to the election and during the election. I trust Scott. I know you're going to enjoy hearing from him. I want you to also, though, while you're listening to him, though, remember that what you are developing by hearing him is you're developing a foundation of understanding. This is what we're going to build on moving forward. Our goal is to go into the next election with an increased level of influence. And we want to advance those principles in a more effective way. So we want to learn from what happened here. So it doesn't hurt to take notes. It doesn't hurt to watch the video a couple of times. It doesn't hurt to spend time deeply thinking and considering some of the things that we're going to discuss here during our conversation. So enjoy, but remember, this is a learning. This is work. So get your pens out if you want, and let's get started. Here's Scott. Hey, Scott, good to see you again. Thanks for taking the time. We love having you on. Everybody loves seeing you. Good to see you again, especially now, because you are obviously one of the leaders in really understanding what's going on in elections and in the political realm here in our nation. You just came out of the last election. You and I haven't had a chance to share your review of what happened during the federal election. So I'm so excited. Everyone's going to be so excited when they see this because you came up with really the best summary of exactly what happened. And so I want to get into that a little bit with you today, if that's all right.
Yeah, that's a lot of really kind words. My wife would say my head's big enough I can't fit out that door. So I don't know what I'm going to do this afternoon, Doug. But
well,
thank you very much for.
Wait till you see the response. People are going to love this. Okay, so here you go. We had the federal election. We had an outcome. A lot of people were kind of a little bit, they were kind of saying, hey, I didn't want it to go that way necessarily. But you came up with some really keen observations about about what it is not only that occurred, but what we can take away. So why don't we start it with like what's top of mind as to when you think back on the federal election, what's your key takeaway, your key thoughts that you lead with?
I think the conservatives fumbled it for sure. I don't think you can get around that. A lot of people will say, well, President Trump was talking about, tariffs in the 51st state, which obviously wasn't helpful to anybody, including to Donald Trump, but most especially to the Conservative Party of Canada or Pierre Poilievre. The thing is, though, is that if you want to run for politics, especially federal politics, especially running to potentially become the prime minister, you can't always just talk about the things that you want to talk about. You have to respond to events as they occur. And so Pierre Poilievre and the leadership team and the Conservative Party of Canada were very reticent and unwilling and stubborn, in fact, to discuss the issue of tariffs and to perhaps a little bit of a lesser extent the 51st state. I thought it was a great issue for the Conservatives to embrace. I mean, if there's one thing that's going to fuel inflation even more, it's tariffs on both sides of the border. That perfectly fits into the narrative that they were talking about for the last, 2 or 3 years. And so I was quite surprised that they didn't run with it, but they ignored it. They just want to talk about, Trudeau bad and axe the tax. And well, you battered Trudeau so badly for the last 2 years that he just got up and left. And the new guy came in and he axed the tax, or at least set it to zero, basically right away. And that guy is off and running just as I expected. You can like Mark Carney, you cannot like Mark Carney, but I think, is pretty objective. I mean, we're in the early days of his government. We just had the speech from the throne from His Majesty the King, which I think was pretty cool. It's only the third time that our monarch has come to deliver that here in Canada. But you have a prime minister that, again, whether you like him or not, I think it's objective to say is far more serious than the previous prime minister, being Justin Trudeau. And so the Conservative Party of Canada, I don't think, realized or appreciated that they had a much more difficult, much more serious of an opponent in Mark Carney and his version of the Liberal Party of Canada. And I think that's what happened. They took a 25-point lead, and almost in just as many days, from the beginning of January to the middle of February, it was dissipated and gone. I think that the party did a little bit better than what people were thinking of about a week or so before the election, going into election night. But the 250 seats that were projected for the Conservatives at the end of December, beginning of January, were almost less than half of that.
Yeah, no, let's just let's check in on that because was really interesting to me when we looked at just how well the conservatives actually did in producing the loss. They still produced the loss, but they did well. You pointed out in your summary piece that the Conservative Party of Canada candidates actually secured more votes in 337 of 343 electoral districts than they did in the last election. It's just that the Liberals, they increased their vote count in 339 of 343 total electoral districts. So the Conservatives did really well, but the Liberals did that much better. Was it really that tight of a race right across the nation?
Yeah, it was, Doug. When I wrote that blog post that you're talking about, I kind of had to get it out there, right? Because I kept waiting for more numbers to come in from judicial recounts, automatic recounts, and things like that. So my numbers are slightly dated. But from the numbers that I looked at the other day, there was a 7,000 vote difference. So I can't remember how many ballots were cast, but the Liberals got 8.6 million, the Conservatives got 8.1, and there's probably what they got 40% each. So you have another 20%, so that's 16. So you're looking at 20, 21, 22 million votes, ballots cast, probably somewhere in around there. And so only 7,000 votes was the difference between the Conservatives winning government, minority government, mind you, not majority, and the Liberals winning a government. But even closer than that, the Liberals, it came down to 60 votes between them having a minority, a very strong minority at that, 169 seats, to a majority government. So it was very tight. And the conservatives, they had a record-breaking election. It was the first time that they got over 40% in almost as many years, in 40 years. If we were talking about one of the predecessor parties being the Progressive Conservative Party of Canada under Mulroney in 1988, it was the largest number of seats it had won since the 2011 election, where Harper won his majority. It was the most number of votes that the party or its predecessor parties ever won. I mean, that's to be expected when you have an increase in the population. But on every single metric, the Liberals just did that much better. So Conservatives got 144 seats, the Liberals got 169. The Conservatives got, 41% of the vote, which was the largest share of the vote since 1988 for them. Well, the Liberals got 43%, and that was the largest share of the vote for them since 1980. So I want to know how many ridings in Canada did the Liberal increase in the total number of votes beat the Conservative increase in the total number of votes. And it was 2/3 of the ridings across Canada. So that is what the Conservative Party of Canada is looking at. That's how serious, whether you like him or not, of a candidate that Mark Carney was, especially compared to Justin Trudeau. And that's how serious we all have to be going forward. Now, the good thing, Doug, and I think you want to get into this, is the margins are tight.
Yeah.
Right? And that goes both ways. They were tight for the Liberals. They were tight for the Conservatives. This is where we come in when we can make that difference. And I think that's going to be starting to be recognized both by the Conservative Party of Canada and now that there is a new leader, potentially by the Liberal Party of Canada as well.
Well, now that's interesting. I want to ask you a question about that then. If it's close and the Conservative Party of Canada can see that it's close and they're looking out there in the sea of all of the potential area, people groups that they can attract to for support. Let me ask you this. Do they look at it as a two-edged sword? So on one side, wow, look at all those great Christians out there and all those, oh man, we got Catholics, we got evangelicals, we got Pentecostals, we got all these different people groups within the faith communities of Canada that we can attract. So that's great. They love that idea. But then they go, oh, but wait a second. They're going to want to talk about life issues. They're going to want to talk about, the fact that we don't have any laws to protect preborn children in our nation. And so how do you think they square that? Because I've always in my mind, I've been activated within that party for over 20 years, and they really do love hate us. Like they do love hate us. They want us to be there. They want us to believe that they're the only game in town, which they're not, because staying at home and doing nothing seems to be on the menu as well for some people. But you know what? They just don't want us to bring those real traditional values with us. What would you say to that?
I mean, it's hard to say. Like I'm not in their minds. I think you're probably pretty close. I mean, you used to sit right on the National Council for one of the predecessor parties for the Canadian Alliance, so you would probably know better than I. Like that was a
Yeah,
little
we
while
had a
ago.
we had a come one come all sort of attitude though back then. It seems like it's almost like there's a little bit of fear in that they seem to be governed by. I don't know. It's too many consultants with too many ideas perhaps within that party. But I'm just saying, like, what is it that they would need to do to bring us to the polls in greater numbers so that we can help them win? I mean, really, that's it. So we can help them actually win. What do you think we'd need to do within the party to become activated in what areas?
Well, I think to go back into the men's into the mind of the full-time staffers and at the executive level and the consultants for the Conservative Party of Canada, I think they enjoy our volunteer time. I think they enjoy our money. I think they especially enjoy our votes. And oftentimes, depending on who the candidate is in different ridings, it's well earned and well deserved. I think what they do not want is for us to open our mouths about basically anything, right? And you mentioned, abortion and there's assisted suicide, but it could also be on issues such as, how we treat Indigenous people in Canada, how we treat our physical environment in Canada, how we view our history here in Canada. Oftentimes, like when it comes to the Libertarians, particularly within Conservative Party of Canada, that's where we come offside and it becomes, a bit more of a libertarianism versus, I would say, a holistic conservatism. So I think that's the issue. They want all our things, but they don't necessarily want us to have any sort of voice or say. There are many things that they can do that are super easy to activate. I would say people of faith, so not just Catholics and Protestants, but also different sects of Muslims to bring them over, let's say, from the liberals, Orthodox Jews, Sikhs, Hindus. I think there's a variety of different things you can do on topics that will also. This is also an important point. Start to differentiate yourself from the Liberal Party of Canada, because under Mark Carney, I'm going to come back to this a lot because I really need people to understand that Mark Carney is a very serious candidate that we need to treat seriously. And there's also, I think people also need to understand that there is some potentiality. I don't think it's much at this point, but there is some potentiality that he could do some good things for some of the issues that we care about. But the points of differentiation between the Conservative Party of Canada under Pierre Poilievre and the Liberal Party of Canada under Mark Carney isn't very much. They both, like during the election campaign, they were both in favor of retaliatory tariffs and what you're going to use with that tariff revenue when it comes to the tariffs that Donald Trump has imposed on Canada from the United States. They both basically shared the same platform when it came to how to invest in the military, where to invest in the military, how much to invest in the military, to try to reduce the deficits, to get rid of the capital gains inclusion rates, increase to get rid of the carbon tax. Granted, the Conservatives want to get rid of the industrial portion. The Liberals want to keep the industrial portion. But, you kind of go down most of the major issues, or the issues that at least the parties are willing to discuss, and there isn't much of a differentiation. So that is both a compliment to Mark Carney and also an insult to Pierre Poilievre. So what can you do? Well, you can talk about social and cultural issues, and I think that is important. So you can talk about, for example, things where a super majority of Canadians especially in tight, and like every riding seems tight now outside of parts of Quebec and in Western Canada, in tight swing ridings. You could talk about, legally restricting sex selective abortion and late term abortion. So 84% of Canadians support legally restricting sex selective abortion, 70% on late term abortion. You could talk about issues of making it illegal for minors to seek sex change operations in this country, which is what a lot of the Western world is starting to do. You can say, we're going to get rid of the sunset clause to expand assisted suicide criteria for those with mental health challenges. I would say even go beyond further and just get rid of track 2 criteria for assisted suicide and go back to what the Supreme Court originally ruled, that this should only be for people who are suffering from an irremitable disease such as cancer, and they're going to die in 3 months anyways. Personally, I think it should just not be allowed, period, because it's been so abused. So these are things that the Conservative Party can talk about that the vast majority of Canadians are with them on, yet they refuse to do so. So now it can take some liberals. Frankly, it could take some liberals in places like the GTA away from them to them. It activates the people you're talking about, Doug. And it's also very palatable to most Canadians. They're not going to bat an eye at any of those things.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. There's this huge sea of support for these positions out there, and you and I see it because you and I have for years and years and years gone to the policy conventions of the Conservative Party. You mentioned in your article actually that this was one of the things that really struck the volunteer base of the party during the election was that we have this massive support within the party for all of these positions, like the position on euthanasia and sex-selective abortion, all these things that we've collectively agreed upon on the floor of the policy conventions.
And by massive margins, mind you.
What's that, sorry?
by massive margins
Yeah,
at the
yes,
policy
absolutely. So, yeah,
convention.
broad base of support, and
Quebec.
that it's not unusual. It wouldn't be unreasonable to assume that support, as you say, flows out beyond the walls of the party
Mhm.
into the Liberal Party. But we just don't seem to be we don't see the uptake during the election or leading up to the election. Anything we could do to help change that for the next election? Could we have greater influence to bring these ideas to become perhaps platform planks or policy discussions or initiatives that could be presented during an electoral cycle?
Always get involved. And I know that, like, for example, I got emails from people that we were able to distribute to different pro-life candidates during the past general federal election just concluded a month ago, that said to me, I should send them to you, Doug. I really should. That said, hey, like, I've been listening to the national leadership briefing for the last 4 years, and now I'm ready to go out and knock on doors. So it's
All
things
right.
like that. But that's during the election campaign. So how can we do it leading up to an election campaign? Well, I think a lot of people who are listening and watching did attend the policy convention for the Conservative Party of Canada in Quebec City. For those of you that didn't, what I'm hearing from different people within the party that the next one's going to be in March of 2026, either in Toronto or Calgary. I'm going to guess it's going to be in Toronto. So that's a place that's much easier to get to than Quebec City was at the end of September in 2023. This is where, the Conservative Party of Canada adopts their official policy stances. And Doug, like, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, there isn't a whole lot I would change about the Conservative Party of Canada's policy document, their official policy document. It's pretty great. There's a lot of great things, and you don't want too much in those documents anyway. So, if anything, I would just take out like the one pro-abortion statement,
Yeah.
maybe have something on late-term abortion, but it's a pretty solid document. So it would be, speaking to your member of parliament. It would be speaking your conservative member of parliament, speaking to your conservative candidate, getting involved in a nomination race. The biggest thing with the policy convention coming up is cleaning up, and I just had a call with a couple of national councillors about this for the Conservative Party of Canada, is cleaning up some things in the constitution side, so the rules of the party regarding nominations and making sure those are a little bit more tight because there were some abuses, especially toward the end, right before the writs were issued for this past election, to make sure that people who share our views and values have a fair shake
Right.
and can actually contest these nominations, because the best thing we can do, of course, is get the right people elected to the House of Commons. And we should be implementing within the Conservatives, but also the Liberals and other parties as well, positive pressure to adopt these positions, run on these positions, embrace these positions, and actually implement them once in government. And I'll be very, very blunt. Like, my vote is for sale. My vote is
Yeah.
extraordinarily transactional. You give me what you want, you have my vote. And if you really give me what I want, you might have more than just my vote, right? You might have my money and might have my time. And what are the two
Yeah.
most precious things to anybody in this world who is asking someone of anything? It's their time and it's their treasure.
Yeah.
So my time and treasure and vote are for sure for sale. You see the Canada's not for sale hats. My vote is for sale in
Yeah.
that regard, right? You
Wow.
adopt policies and pieces of legislation that I want to see, you're going to get it. And so I hope it happens. I don't really care if it's a blue hat, red hat, whatever. Like, I personally, tend to lean more conservative just in general on a whole variety of issues. But my number one issue, man, like, if it's another political party that's adopting it
Yeah.
and running with it, that's where I am. That's where it's going. And
Yeah.
it's that simple.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. I hope everybody listen to that, play that back again if you're watching the video, because that is good teaching. Everyone should adopt that as a personal philosophy. If you believe in the things that you believe in as a person of faith, as a Christian here in our nation, that's aligned with your views and values. It definitely is. Well, thanks, Scott. We're gonna have to leave it there. There's so much more we could talk about. My gosh, I'm gonna have to have you back. We'll be including obviously links to your website. Want to make sure everybody's on your you've got a newsletter list that you send out. So everyone should have by now the email addresses with right now. I'll make sure that link is there. Anything else coming up here, Scott, that we want to make sure we get in the hands of people?
Well, just enjoy the summer because I think come autumn, it's going to be busy. We have a party policy convention for the Conservatives. We have a party policy convention for the Liberals, and we can talk about this some other time, maybe after the summer. But
Yeah.
I have a feeling, and it's not because of the votes, because I think that we are dealing with a very probably going to be a very competent Liberal government under Mark Carney. I do believe that this parliament will not last all that long, and it's going to be because they do well, they get some wins, and they're going to want to go to the electorate, and they're going to want to get that coveted majority.
Okay. All right. I'll hold you to
this
that. You just made a prediction. I got to go. Okay.
is this yeah, run with it, right? Keep the receipts. That is my prediction. I wouldn't be surprised if in the autumn of 2026 the Liberals go back to the people saying we accomplished all these things, but we need a majority mandate. I think probably running on some sort of deal to get with Trump.
Let's get it done. Yeah, that's what they're going to say. Let's get it done. All right, Scott. Thanks for your time today. Until next time, have a good one, man. Enjoy your summer.
Okay, you bet. You too. Bye for now.
Okay, well, you heard him. There is another election coming. Now, there always is another election coming. The only question is always when. So, what we do here on the National Leadership Briefing and with Canada Family Action is we are always preparing for the next election. The day of the election, we are preparing for the next election. That's just the way we view it. We're kind of always wanting to be election ready. So, to get election ready, that brings us to our next segment, which we're going to do over in the boardroom here. But I want to set it up here for you a little bit. Is during our last national leadership briefing, what I did was I reviewed in a little bit more detail some of the ways that we were held back and restricted from fully accessing the democratic processes within the Conservative Party of Canada. I said that hey, it's a missed opportunity. You heard me talk to Scott about, I thought, hey, there were some missed opportunities. I thought we could have all worked together to advance some of the things that we believe in into the party platform as well. However, that wasn't the case. And of course, we want to be a bigger part, more influential in the next election. So that's what the strategy is all about. But there are some foundational things that the Conservative Party will need to know about this next phase of interaction that they will have with us on the National Leadership Briefing and also with those that we serve and with other fellow Christians that we have influence with across the nation. Now, we're of course not saying that we are the only game in town. We're not definitely, we don't certainly don't get out there and tell people who to vote for, but we will definitely be advocating on behalf of this position that I'm going to be sharing with you in the boardroom in just a moment. It is one idea among many that you will hear. I said that during the last briefing. I said, look, I mean, I'm not telling everybody to just follow my plan. I'm just saying, I've just got a suggestion for you. I'm going to lay out my plan. I'm going to lay out what it is that we're going to be doing over the course of the next months before the next election. And it's going to be hardball. It's not going to be softball. We are not going to be letting the Conservative Party of Canada believe that we're happy to go along with whatever they decide. That's not the case. If that ever was the case, those days are over, and we need to cement that in the minds of those at the higher ranks of the operation of the Conservative Party of Canada that no, we're not going to go along. We are actively looking, as Scott said, our vote is for sale, but we are actively looking for a place to put our support. For now, I can tell you that our official position on the briefing is that we have withdrawn our support from the Conservative Party of Canada. However, we're happy to give them an opportunity to earn our support, because at election time next time, we would happily lend them our support. Now, all of these words are very specific words. Remember, I'm not giving them my support ever. I'm going to lend it to them for a period of time to fulfill a mandate that they're going to define leading up to the next election. In the meantime, though, we're going to negotiate. We are actively working to negotiate for platform leading up to the next election. And you are invited to be a part of that because you are a citizen, you are a party member, you have influence because of those things, because you've been given an area of responsibility that we're going to get into in the boardroom a little bit more here in a moment. But I'm asking you to lend your support to the strategy so that you and I can together, remember that's what we're always talking about, is combining our voices to speak with a louder voice and have greater influence in the lead up to the next election. Because the goal is going to be that we see more of the things in the party platform that we are interested in supporting for the next election. And we also want to engage as equals in the processes. Because again, if you check the last briefing, you will see that one of my greatest concerns is that there was an inequality about access and during the processes that led up to the election. We were restricted from participating as people of faith, as Christians, with our views. And you know what? We're going to contend for that level playing field. We're going to contend for the right to compete on a level playing field going into the next election. And again, that is what we're about to discuss in the boardroom. So, hey, take a quick break, grab yourself a water, and I'll see you over in the boardroom right after this quick video.
These are the things that we believe in. First, that parents have the right to raise their children the way they want. Second, that those we elect to serve us in civil government must respect and defend our right of belief and freedom of religion. Number three, that the laws and policies of civil government must provide for the safety and security of the citizens, especially the vulnerable among us. And number four, that it is inappropriate to heap debt upon the backs of our children and future generations. They came from you. They're your pillars. They're the things that you believe.
Okay, it's good to be in the boardroom here with you today. Let me just check the volumes here. I want to make sure I'm coming through clear here. Excellent. Microphone is working. All right. Okay, so we're in the boardroom here today for a reason. We always use the boardroom time, for those of you who are new, to up our game, to drill, train, and to grow. So again, posture yourself to receive and be thinking, what's my role? And what part do I play in this? I want you to be thinking, actively engaging with what I'm about to share with you. If it is your first time, I'm going to be referring to things that you can source on our website and you can get caught up. But again, some of the stuff you just might be familiar with if you've been around for a while, because you know what? They say sometimes nothing new under the sun. Well, okay, that's true, because if we just did what it is that we're trained to do, then we would just automatically know how to execute. But we're going to have to remind ourselves again today, we're up against gatekeepers within the party. We're up against gatekeepers within the system. People that don't share our views and values, don't want to compete with our views and values, because quite frankly, our ideas are superior to theirs, is my view. Our ideas, when deployed correctly, are definitely going to produce prosperity in the lives of our neighbor and our nation in a way that will be much improved to what their ideas will produce. And so, again, I understand why gatekeepers do what they do. They just don't want to have a fair competition about it. But you know what? We want to participate. We want to participate in the processes of the democracy of our nation. And we're just going to make sure that we do. So a couple of things before we get started. I am going to finish up the briefing today here in the boardroom. I know we're tight for time. We're up against a bit of a wall here just because of the amount of time I wanted to spend with Scott. What we don't get covered here today, though, we're definitely going to be coming back and finishing off next briefing. So invite more people to the next briefing and make sure you are knowing that we're working a long plan. We are definitely working this plan leading right up to the very next election. So let's get ready and get started. All right. First of all, the template that you see behind me, this is on our website. This is the NLB Essentials part of our training. We have 4 videos that are in NLB Essentials on our YouTube channel and on our website. They are the You Training video. First of all, there's one video called You Training, talks all about you and your own personal responsibility to participate and to engage up to the limits of your authority, which we're going to talk about here today. There's also this video here. This is called the Sphere Authority Training Template, which is part of the Sphere Authority Training. This again talks about you in relationship with others in society that together are supposed to work cohesively up to their limits of their authority and their responsibility to ensure the well-being of all of society. So that's Sphere Authority Training. We also have a Horizon Training video there for you. So it's all about looking out onto the horizon, looking for those opportunities and those threats, and using the immediate road ahead of us to prepare to greet those opportunities or defend against the threats when they come. Now, I view the situation that we're in now as a threat. I actually see the next election right now as a threat. So we are in the boardroom today preparing to meet head on the threat of a diminishing ability for our ideas to compete on the landscape, the political landscape in our country at election time. And so we are here contending. We are here contending for that space on the political landscape and saying, you know what? We have a right to be here, and so we're going to be participating, and that's what we're doing today is we're getting ready to do that. So, and then finally, we also have the 4-pillar training that is also on the website as well, so you can learn all about the 4 pillars and the Christian principles that undergird those pillars, and you can understand what it is that we rally around. So, but today we're going to be using the Sphere Authority Training template to talk about some things, and then we're also going to be talking about aspects of the You Training video because we want you to take possession of what it is that you learned today. So first, let's start here with the Sphere Authority Training video here template. So let's take a look at it first. Where it says self here, that is just another word for you. We are in a situation right now where you have the ability to impact the plan moving forward. You yourself. And it's important that you understand that you are the only person that can actually impact the plan in the way that I'm talking about, because you are the one that operates within the center of your sphere of authority here on this earth. God has placed you here in this specific place in the middle of a sphere of authority for you to influence all of those things that happen within your sphere of authority up to a predetermined and appropriate limit of your authority. Now, this is why the Sphere Authority Training Template looks like this, is because we want you to understand that what happens within this arena here, this is your responsibility. You can't just like say, oh, don't worry about it, Doug will take care of that. Or Canada Family Action, oh, hey, all those other guys on the briefing, they can take care of that. No, you are the one that is squarely placed within the center of your sphere of authority, and you're the only person that can take care of that. So, and if you don't take care of it, nobody else will. And so this space here is your responsibility. Now, God has also given you the authority, though, so that while you are there with the responsibility, He can rightfully hold you to account for what happens within your sphere of authority, because he gives you the authority to actually deal with the things that go on there. So, for example, here, if you look over here at the very top here, he has placed you in Canada as a citizen. You are here in the nation of Canada, and you are a citizen of the nation of Canada while you are here on earth, and he has given you authority as a citizen to actually operate as a citizen. So you see what I mean? It's all corresponding. Now, some of us, he takes us then also, and he places us within a family. He actually says, okay, you know what? You are a father, a parent, and I'm going to give you the authority to govern within your sphere of authority or government. These are actually known as governments as well. And so that's why this sphere authority template is up on the wall today, is because sometimes we think it's just all kind of haphazard as to where we are placed by God, that we're just kind of, oh, well, we just happen to be here. No, if you are a citizen of Canada, you are placed in a place with a responsibility to conduct yourself in a manner worthy of the gospel of Christ, as you'll recall it says in Scripture, but you have a responsibility to govern within that sphere of authority. If you're a member of a family, a mother, a father, there's very specific responsibilities and authorities and influence that you can wield within that thing. Also, within a church, if you're a church within a community, you also have authority to speak. So we're going to talk about the authorities that we're going to deploy leading up to the next federal election. And what I asked you before, remember when I said I want you to be actively looking and listening during our time training for what it is your part is within the plan. Because if you don't take possession of part of the plan moving forward, then we are all wasting our time here. We're wasting your time anyway. No, I'm not. You're not wasting my time because I know my sphere of authority, my area of responsibility, and I also know where I am on this list over here. So that's what we're going to do is we're going to find your place in the plan moving forward. All right. So let's go down some of the possible places where you can be on this road ahead as you move forward, the authorities that you possess. Now, we talked about citizen already. If you're in Canada and you are here and a citizen of Canada, you have authority. So we may call on you as we roll out the plan leading up to the next election as a citizen to exercise your authority by utilizing your right to speak as a citizen and speak up for your right to participate in the democracy here in Canada leading up to, in the processes of democracy leading up to it and including the election. That may be how we're called. Now, you're also located somewhere in Canada. You are a constituent. Now, what that means is that you reside, your residence is within the boundaries of an electoral district. All of Canada is divided up into 343 electoral districts, and you reside, your primary residence is within one of those districts, and that makes you a constituent of that district. Well, with that sphere, that area of responsibility within that electoral district as a citizen, you have constituent authority as well to speak to, for example, your member of parliament, your elected representatives about what it is your views are. Constituents directly have that added authority within their electoral districts, and we may call upon you to speak to the things that you believe in locally. All right? So I want you to say, are you one of those two? Actually, you're both. If you're listening to this, you're probably likely both. Now, we may have some like permanent residents, and we might have some people who are new to Canada, but pretty much we're talking to both of those people now. So get ready, because I don't know if you see yourself in these two first ones, but I see you in these two first ones. Now, the next one is parents, parental authority. You operating within your family have authority to speak. Now, we may call you forward as a parent and say, hey, we need parents who are willing to stand and speak and utilize their authority as a parent to exercise that authority and speak to the issues that are important to you. And if you're familiar with the 4 pillars, the number 1 pillar is that we believe that parents have the right to raise their children the way they want, in a manner that perhaps they were raised in a faith tradition that perhaps they've chosen themselves as Christians. So you as a parent, if you are a parent, we want you to see yourself in this plan moving forward as a parent. Party member, let's talk about that. If you are already a member of the Conservative Party of Canada, when you joined, you got a piece of paper, and on that piece of paper, it outlined all of the things that you got as a benefit of membership in the party. It's listed right on the form. Well, did you know something about the Conservative Party of Canada that I actually was involved in helping to form in the very beginning? Is that we had this vision that everyone within the Conservative Party of Canada were equals. So when the system was set up within the party, and all those party memberships went out, after you paid your $10 or $15 per year for a membership and you got your card in the mail, everybody got the exact same letter to go with the card. In other words, when I got my card in the beginning and I got my piece of paper and my membership privileges were identified to me, I didn't get special privileges because you joined after me. No, didn't matter when you joined. If somebody joins tomorrow, it was intended that everyone was equal within the party as party members. So if we see in any way that the members of the party, Conservative Party of Canada, are somehow identified as one being superior to another or one being lower than another, then we may call upon you as a party member to exercise your authority as a party member to actually say, that's offside with what I believe, and we may call upon you to speak. So are you a party member? If you're not, do you want to be a party member? Because if you do, and you want to purchase that extra authority to speak, we can help you with that as well. So I want you to ask yourself these questions. Again, this is just getting the juices rolling. This is just getting your thoughts going as to exactly who you are in the plan. Now let's talk about this one here. Are you a servant leader? There are a lot of people around us all the time in our sphere of authority, in our area of responsibility that God has placed in our orbit, and we are there to serve them. We are there to serve them in some way. Well, right now, as we're looking on the horizon and we're seeing our ability to actually participate on the political landscape of Canada as equals diminish, as we're seeing that erode and taken away and dismantled, however you want to put it, are you a servant leader who wants to help bring that to the attention of others? Now, I'm going to put a footnote on that one. Are you willing to do it in a way that does not sow fear and confusion? Because there's a very specific way that a servant leader can serve the people around him by bringing these things to their attention and not have them just get frustrated and upset and angry and all of a sudden engaging in a fleshly battle emotionally. So there are ways to do that, but are you willing to grow your maturity to your point as a servant leader where you can go into your sphere of responsibility and communicate to others the problem and the challenge and then help us all work together, work through the solution? Are you that person? Well, if you are, then I also want to work with you and help develop those skills in you and help you be more influential leading up to the next election. Are you an informer generally? Are you someone who has a community of people that you speak to on a regular basis? Actually, you could be an informer within a church. You could be a citizen action group ministry leader. You could be someone who's actually identified as a problem and solution or a solution provider and is used to dealing with problems. If you are an informer and servant leader, then we can definitely work with you because you have your heart for the people around you. You might be a member of a citizen action group. You might be a member of a community action council. You might serve your community in a way, but you are someone who brings solutions. We definitely want to connect with you and help you to communicate the challenge that we've got ahead of us. We also have an opportunity for those who want to participate as party members for them to grow their influence and access to the process by becoming what we call an electoral district association board member. So there are boards that operate within each of the parties, within each of the electoral districts across the nation. And we don't have time to get into the training of what that is now, but I can tell you right now, if you are someone who is interested in serving your local community and the people within your sphere of influence with better information about what's going on locally, and you want to also communicate more effectively to your elected representatives and your candidates, the Electoral District Board Association board member positions are perfectly suited for you, because that is the point where information is most easily transmitted between candidates and members of parliament and the community, is through those individuals that are willing to serve on these boards. So that might be you. We also have an opportunity coming up, as Scott mentioned when we talked, about a policy convention that's coming up in various parties. Well, you might want to participate and exercise influence as a convention delegate. That's where you actually get to stand in a room and decide what party policies of the individual parties are, yes or no. You can actually vote up or down whether you support or do not support certain policies of the party. And that is another opportunity that's going to happen between now and the next election is the guess, depending on when the next election is. And then finally, I just want to talk to these people here especially and find out if they're willing to open their minds to the possibility of them becoming more influential in helping us to preserve the political landscape for us here in Canada, is if you see yourself as a change maker. Because the reality is that the world is changing. God so brilliantly designed our earth here to be that it is temporal. It is subject to change. And by the actions that we take as individuals, change makers know that we can either make the world a better place or we can make it a worse place. And a change maker, the kind of change maker we're looking for, is it's okay if you're a disruptor, but you've got to be able to do it in a positive way. You've got to be able to preserve the heart of the matter as not being a fleshly battle. We do not want to get into a kinetic war with other people. We want change makers who understand how to finesse their way through the systems of government, because there are processes and systems that are established, and we want to adhere to all of the rules. We don't want to be rule breakers. We want to adhere to the rules, but we definitely want to be in there making positive change. So do you see yourself as a change maker? We definitely want to engage you in the processes leading up to the next election. Now, so we've got all of this here, all these things listed out here, and this is just a few of them. And you might say to yourself, well, wait a second, I don't see myself in any of those things. Well, then, okay, maybe not. I hope you see yourself in a few of these things, because some of them are pretty obvious. But maybe you don't know if you want to see yourself as let's say, a party member or a EDA board member. Maybe you need more information about that before you make that decision. Or maybe you want to take it before the Lord and say, Lord, I was on this briefing today and this guy was talking about me possibly being this and that. And Lord, I just want you to lead. I submit myself to you. I submit myself to your call on my life. And I want you to tell me, Lord, where it is that you want me to be. And I'll tell you something that I'll never do. If you call me up and you say, Doug, God has led me to this place where I believe that I'm supposed to be a member of an electoral district association board, I'm not going to try and talk you out of it. I'm just going to say, great, how can I help? Let's get started. That's what we do here on the National Leadership Briefing. And all of these individuals operating within their area of responsibility, accepting the responsibility, exercising the actual authority that they've been given in each of these positions, are going to be the components of the manpower that's going to be required to execute the strategy on the road ahead leading up to the next election. So let's start there then. That's it for today. We've got areas of responsibility. You have one. Sphere of influence and authority. You have one. You definitely have a limit of your jurisdictional authority, which we will help you define if you're having trouble figuring out what that is. But we definitely know and will respect that if you are a parent, you have parental authority, and we'll help you work that out. If you're a member of a church, we're going to respect the authority of the church leaders. We're always going to defer to authorities that are superior to the authorities that we're looking to deploy. So all of these things are going to be, all these conversations can take place, but you need to take ownership of this first. And you need to ask yourself where in here you are, because until you take that first step and you say, I am committed, me, myself, as a citizen, as a constituent, as an electoral district association board member, as someone who would like to become a delegate at a policy convention, until you accept that responsibility, then Providence will not move in your favor. It will not come in behind you and just fill your sail like wind. And that's what we want. We want to move this whole process forward. Now, I've got different conversations that are taking place with different levels of authority here in our nation. and I need to find out where you are in that. So I need you to take down this email address. This is my email address, president@familyaction.ca. president@familyaction.ca. And after you carefully consider in prayer and just meditating on it and just considering where you're at, I want you to get in touch with me and let me know where it is that you are and what it is that you want to do moving forward. Because we're putting a team together, and the team is going to be deployed over the course of the next months leading up to the next election. And if you want to be on it, you're invited. All right? Okay, so we're going to leave it there for today. Thank you so much for your attention. Thanks so much for joining us on the briefing. It's a pleasure and an honor to serve you here. I so appreciate you and your eyeballs on what it is that we're doing, the action that you take. Whenever we take action, I just, it's great seeing you there. I love running into you on the streets when I see you out there. But I know you're working, and I know you're hustling, and I just love you guys so much just for being a part of the family. See you next time on the briefing. Bring a few more people. Watch the last briefing. Watch the May 2nd briefing. For those people that are going to be joining this for the first time, they're going to want to see that first briefing that leads into this one, that then will connect to the next one. That'll help them a lot in understanding where we're at. And then go and make sure that you watch those 4 training videos on the National Leadership Briefing website, because those are the foundations of understanding for everything that we do here on the briefing. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that. That's it. Thanks so much for your time today. Until next time, please know that we will continue to pray for you. We will continue to pray for your family. And we, of course, will continue to pray for this great nation of Canada. Bye for now.
The bear has been poked. It's time to wake up from our slumber
and stand together, united as one. One family, one body, one church.
We will not walk past the vulnerable.
Say nothing, do nothing, and turn a blind eye.
We are citizens of a great nation.
We are good Samaritans to our neighbors. You are not alone.
We are the largest unified voice in Canada. So we stand united. This is our rally cry. We are Christ to our nation. This is our battle cry. He shall have dominion from sea to sea and from the river unto the ends of the earth. Righteousness will reign. Justice will prevail. We are united.